This is indeed a proud day to be Australian, because make no mistake, this reform will change lives.
That's Australia's Prime Minister. The country is something of all the talk in the tech world right now after implementing a new law that effectively bans children under 16 from accessing social media. Here to talk about it is Giles Crouch. He's a specialist in online media, virtually everything digital. Great to have you with us.
Great to be with you, Tom.
Can you give us a quick explainer on the law? That's probably an unfair question. I know these things tend to be quite complex, but what's the headline on it?
Well, the headline is that if social media platforms like Facebook allow kids under 16 to go on social media platforms, they will be fined a significant amount of money. So it's really an attempt by the law to stop under 16s from accessing social media channels.
And of course, I guess the $64,000 question is, will it work? Do you think it stands much of a chance?
Well, I think it's one of the stronger laws that's come into place. Australia is pretty progressive in this manner. The internet has been a wild west, and social media certainly for the last 15 years, and society is coming back and saying, look, these things that we do in the real world, we now need to do them in the digital world. And so does it have enough teeth? We don't know until it goes into effect and until one of these platforms is fined by the Australian government, and then it goes to court. And that's the real test of the value or the teeth behind the law.
Yeah, is it enough of a fine that they'll take notice? I mean, we've seen in other countries that, sometimes they shrug these off, they just pay it and they move on, and that hardly makes a dent.
Well, it's I think words of $40 million a day, so that can clock up pretty fast. It's very similar to the EU with their privacy laws, and they fine them, but a lot of those fines are ending up in court. In some cases, they're not getting enforced. So it'll be up to the Australian government whether or not they enforce this. But it's enough that will hurt the pocketbooks of these platforms, definitely.
And is it just the large ones, or do small platforms, are they affected by this as well?
From what I understand, it's really only the major platforms like Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. So there's all kinds of other channels that they could use, like Roblox, the gaming platform. They could use Discord servers. They could use virtual private networks as workarounds. So the smaller platforms won't be affected. So that, again, says, well, the kids will just go where they can go.
Yeah, look, I was going to say, I know a few tech-savvy young folks. They're pretty good at doing a workaround and finding ways into things that they want to get to. Do you suspect that, is that going to be the case here, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. So they will use the VPNs, they'll go to Discord, they'll go to messaging apps like WhatsApp or Telegram or Messenger, and then they might go and convince an aunt or an uncle or even one of their parents to say, you go in and sign on for me, and then I'll just change over the name and my image afterwards. So you can't stop all that happening. The only way to do that is to have a digital ID verification. And that would be the only workaround.
I know critics have been saying that, look, this doesn't do anything in terms of education, and that when they come of age, they'll just be hit with this onslaught of social media anyway. So isn't it better to teach them something so they have the tools to not get adversely affected by all this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole of society problem. Content moderation is extremely complex and very difficult and very expensive. Platforms have had mixed results, but you've got to educate the kids. So the ideal would be that they then work with the school system. It's a whole of society challenge. They should work with the school system. Parents should help to educate their children where they can. Because you're right, if all of a sudden they sign on at 16 and they don't have any of the skills to deal with this and manage it, they're still young enough that they can't always have good judgment when they're online.
Yeah. Would it work in Canada?
Yeah, that's a great question. Canada's definitely watching it. I know the EU is too. Canada didn't do so well with the news media challenge. Will they do well with this social media thing? I don't know. The law will be slightly different here. What we may see is some of the provinces take action first. You may see Ontario, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, they might take action first and put laws in place provincially, which would then push the federal government to put some federal laws in place. We have very weak privacy laws in Canada. They're absolutely terrible. There's no data regulation. There's no AI regulation. So will they do anything with social media? It's a big question.
Yeah, there was a bit of talk of that, wasn't there, about the provinces perhaps doing something on their own, but without the backing of the federal government, would it amount to much?
Not really. There's only so much fines they can place on these platforms. The platforms are going to look at a province with, the biggest province in population-wise is Ontario. That might have an impact, but you'd have to get multiple provinces to enact a law like this for it to have any means of being significant enough for these platforms to take an action.
So Australia, really the canary in the coal mine here, and I suppose everybody's watching this to see what comes of it. And would you expect to see more countries sort of falling in line here or bringing in something unique to their own country?
Yes. Society is, the laws always lag technology, and technology moves so fast. But society is saying, look, the laws that we have in place in the real world need to catch up to the digital world. And I think governments are starting to do that. We're starting to see the civilizing, if you will, of the Wild West of the internet. So I expect we're going to see more laws. We're going to see more rules and regulations come in place for these platforms.
Giles Crouch, thank you for putting this into context for us. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much, Todd. Have a good evening.
All right. We're going to take this opportunity to make this our web poll of the night, and we're asking this. Should Canada ban people under the age of 16 from using social media? And your options are, yes, social media is harmful for young people. A ban is extreme, but there should be tight restrictions. Or no, it's unrealistic. Vote at ctvnewsatlantic.ca.